So Rockets play last night, and they're down by like 28. They catch up. They make a lead with this small lineup, but it's like the 5 or 6 minute mark, and I'm like, okay, where's Alperen Şengün? He hasn't come back yet, right? And then I tweet this. There is no reason that both Jayshawn Tate and Dylan Brooks should be playing crunch time minutes over Alperen Şengün. Completely inexcusable. That's tweet 1. There's 3 tweets, by the way.
Okay.
Tweet 2 is Alperen Şengün is the clear franchise guy in Houston, but gets treated like a 6-man sometimes. It's so bizarre. If he was the 3rd overall pick instead of 16th, none of this would be happening. He's played well enough to get the benefit of the doubt on nights like this. That's tweet number 2. And then tweet number 3 is quoting tweet number 2. It's saying, I'm tempted to believe at Red94's theory on nights like this, the organization keeps fighting the inevitability of Şengün as their franchise guy. It's almost as if they'd rather crash and burn on whatever their original vision of the team was instead of course correct. So that got a lot of pushback. Like, let me see how many. Yeah, like a lot. I don't a lot. It's not just the quote tweets. It's the comments. It was a lot. It was a lot. And it was fun. I'm not gonna lie. It was fun to get people riled up like that. Like, it's been a minute. I'm just gonna explain my rationale for tweeting this for us. You pop in whenever you want, right? Whenever you want, cut me off. Say whatever the hell you want. I just want to explain my rationale here.
Yeah, let's hear it.
First, I want to point out I use the phrase tempted to believe deliberately because I don't 100% believe that, right? Like, but I'm not going to lie. There's a part of me that always looks at the organization sideways with their usage of Şengün. Like, this is the same organization that had 2 bigs ahead of him in the starting lineup like 2 years ago, like in Christian Wood and Daniel Tice. This is the same organization that started Bruno Fernando over him to start last season. This is the same organization that feverishly chased Brook Lopez to be their starting center this offseason. This is the same organization that continuously goes away from Şengün in key crunch time possessions. This is the same organization that's already been tied with the following name to the trade deadline: Clint Capella, Robert Williams, Daniel Gafford. 2 of those guys are starting center guys, right? Like starting level guys, right? You're telling me that I should feel secure in how they use Alperen Şengün? It took until his 3rd season in the NBA that they were comfortable making him a starter. And they weren't really comfortable. They had no other option. Right? And let me just address this. Like a couple of things that I saw last night. First is a variation of the following. Oh, he isn't above anybody on the team. Are you serious right now? Is Dylan Brooks the one with 1.8 million votes for the All-Star game? Is Jayshawn Tate the one that every NBA media member talks about weekly on their podcasts? Like, is he the one that current and former players keep referring to as quote-unquote special? Like, get out of my face with that bullshit that he's not above anybody on the team. I don't care if he had a first half from hell. Şengün has done more than enough to finally get the benefit of the doubt for this organization, and they're not giving it to him. This is not the same as Ime Udoka benching Jalen Green in 4th quarters. Jalen is still trying to prove to everyone that he's a positive basketball player. The organization does not have a history of undermining him. This is not Jabari Smith. Jabari Smith was bordering on looking like a bust last year, and he still remained a starter above Tari Eason, which he shouldn't have, arguably. Don't give me this. I'm well aware of quote-unquote riding the hot hand. I know what that means. I'm well aware. I've been around the sport since I was 2. Okay? I promise I know what that means. I have no problem with Ime riding a lineup that works up until midway through the 4th quarter. Because at the 5 or 6 minute mark, Şengün should have been back in that game. He should have been back in that game. Don't tell me you would have rather had Jayshawn Tate taking step-back threes in crunch time possessions of a professional basketball game over Alperen Şengün doing literally anything. Listen, like, Şengün is the guy. He's the guy. I know it's painful for a lot of you guys to come around to this. I don't know why it is, but it's seemingly painful. I still see it. I don't know why I still see it. Boo who? You don't do that with your best player. You let him figure it out because he gives you the best chance of winning basketball games, and he's going to have to learn how to win in those situations anyways. Like, I don't care if he was having a rough night. He is still the most positive player on the team by a wide margin. Like, Ime would have never done that with Fred VanVleet if he was having a bad game. So don't tell me that he doesn't already give special treatment to certain guys on the team. Don't give me that. This guy does not get treated like a budding franchise player that he clearly is, in my opinion. Sorry,
all right.
That's all I had to say.
All right, so here's my response to this. It doesn't really matter what the fans of the Rockets think about him. And I understand it matters when they're in your mentions. I get it. I've been yelled at fans before, too, for primarily Westbrook-related takes. But so I understand that it can be very tempting to take seriously, or at least take personally those who are complaining to you. But ultimately, they're not the ones who make decisions about Alperen Şengün, apart from, I guess, the fan voting for the All-Star game, in which he got 1.8 million votes. Whatever that translates to in terms of actual number of people voting for All-Star game, which I don't know. No one does. But the people who do matter what they think about Alperen Şengün is the Rockets organization. And your worry about, do people not understand that he's the franchise player? Do the Rockets, does that organization, does that coaching staff, does that front office understand that he is their franchise player? As you say, he is the only player anybody talks about on the team. He's literally the only guy anyone's talking about. The only other player anyone talks about is Jalen Green because they're worried that he sucks. All right? And we can get to Jalen Green later, but Şengün is obviously the best player on the team at this time. I can't rule out that someone else might supersede him eventually because the world contains many things. But right now, he's obviously the best player on the team. And that includes Fred VanVleet, and that includes Dylan Brooks, and that definitely includes Jae'Sean Tate. All of whom I love like cousins. However, they're not as good as Alperen Şengün. And it is troubling.
My cousins can shoot better than that, by the way. I just want to say, they would never take a step back three in a professional basketball game.
I think a lot of people's cousins can shoot better than the 2024 Rockets.
Okay,
but
fair enough.
But what I want to say is that there are disquieting signs that they still would really prefer not to rely on Şengün. That even to this date, that, like, they still have a tendency to sit him in big moments. They don't want to go to him all the time. And I don't know what that's about. I mean, is it just he's, like, not a guy that they think is cool? Is it something that we don't know about? Like, behind the scenes when they're in practice, is there something that the coaching staff sees in Şengün that they mistrust him about? Like, I don't know what's going on. Like, is it his defense? Do they think he's never really going to be, like, an elite defender or something, which probably not, but I don't know what it is. But they obviously do not trust him yet. I mean, and it might be as simple as the fact that coaches just don't trust young players. They just, like, and hopefully it's just that, right? That's like, Udoka's a coach, he's going to play his vets. Vets do in fact have some skills. They know things that younger players don't. They're cool under pressure. I get it. So hopefully it's just literally Udoka being like, I want my guys who've been in the league for 10 years. You know, I want these guys who've played hundreds of games to be out here because they're going to be unflappable in a way that, like, a second or third year player isn't. If it's just that, that's annoying, but I'm not, like, worried about the team in the same way as if they're just like, I don't know, man. I don't think Şengün's got it like that.
Yeah, I'm glad you said this because it's not just this one game, man. It's a collection of games, right? Whether that's him getting benched in the fourth or him just not getting the ball in the fourth, right? There's a lack of confidence I don't want to say lack. He is leading the team in usage, right? The team does seem to like him a lot, right?
Yeah.
No, you're damn right he better be, right? You're damn right. But, like, the team does seem to like him and embrace him, right? But there are moments where he gets slighted in a way where I'm like, if this was like Luka Doncic, would the team be treating him like this? Would the coach be treating him like this? If this was Joel Embiid in his third season, they did not get bench him like this. Like, this is not something that happens. I don't care if it's Ime. I don't care. Like, this is not normal. Like, first of all, like, people bring up the Kevin McHale benching James Harden situation to me. Like, first of all, can you guys at least ask how I felt when that happened? I did not like that. I was not a fan of Kevin McHale benching James Harden in that late game situation. Like, it may have worked, but I'm not a process over. I'm like a process over results guy, right? Like, just because it worked doesn't mean it was the move I would have done, right? When it's your best player, I think you keep him in the game. I don't care what's working. I think you always put him back in the game. And like, you let him figure it out. And if you lose with him, you lose with him. That's fine. You sleep better. You sleep better at night knowing you did the right thing, right? I don't care if you lose a game that way, because these guys have to get reps in these situations, man. They're gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna make the play-in tournament. Whatever. They have to learn how to win. They have to learn how to fight through adversity. A bad game.
Yeah, which is something I was thinking about earlier today, and last night after that. I don't want to call it a fun game, but it was a game.
It was pretty fun. It was a pretty fun game. I'm not gonna lie.
It's cool to come back from a big deficit, and in the end, like what the Rockets do this year in terms of making the playoffs or not doesn't really matter. Like that's all secondary. Like, it's good if they make the play in the playoffs, but what's the point of that? Is that they want to get this experience and development for their players. That's the goal this season. They're not contenders yet, and until such time as, if ever they become contenders, the goal is improvement. Whether it's improvement of individual players, improvement of the team writ large, what have you. They're trying to get better right now. And a big space they need to get better at is that their young players, being young, aren't good in crunch time. They're not good in high-pressure situations. You can look at the team stats and see this. They have like a +2 point differential, and their net rating is like +1-ish, right? Like, they're positive in their net rating and all those metrics. Not a lot positive, but a little positive. They have the statistical makeup of a team that should be better than they are. But because they stay in games, they don't get blown out in very many games, and they stay in games. Even when they lose, it's usually like not that far behind. They fight back into games, but they're not good at winning these close games. They're not good at winning in overtime, and it's not weird. This is normal for young teams to be this way, to have to learn it. But they have to learn this stuff. They have to go through these nasty situations. They have to feel the pressure, and honestly, they have to lose in the pressure before they can learn how to win under pressure. And I understand the coaches want to win all these high pressure games. Great. I don't understand how the lineups is going to be your older guys who are not as good as your younger guys, right? And again, I understand that coaches trust veterans, but you need to get these young players reps in these situations. You need to let them undergo the trial by fire. Like, yeah, just any minute. Like, I know that there's plenty of debate to be had over whether just like any given NBA minutes are better for development than not, right? A lot of people are like, well, it doesn't matter how bad the guy is, play him when he's young, keep playing him, even if you lose game after game. And that's not always the case. But these guys have shown a lot of promise, and you need to let them work through this stuff and figure out how to do this. And I know they need to have like Ven's lead out there as an instructive and calming influence when they're doing this. They need the vets to also play, but they also need to let their in particular, the guy who is most likely to be with the team long term. And that's the real thing, is that Şengün, of all the guys on the team, of everyone, of every player on the Rockets right now, Şengün is clearly the most likely to be with the Rockets in 5 years. Whether he's their best player or not, he's currently their best player, and therefore he's the one that they're overwhelmingly likely to keep around. You have to prioritize his development over stuff like, do I think I have 5% better chance of beating the Nets on a Saturday night?
Right, like, and this argument cuts both ways. Like, he is objectively the guy who is more likely to help you win the close game. Because this is not Jalen Green, where he's probably objectively not going to help you. in those close games,
Yeah.
right? Right? Like this guy will help you win the game, right? And you keep him in until he gets cold, and guess what? He's gonna miss 2 free throws at the end of the game. He hasn't shot a shot in like 6 minutes. Right, I don't get this. I don't know. Ime has done a very good job this year, right? I want to be fair to him, right?
Undeniably.
He's done a very good. Yeah, undeniably done a great job. Undeniably recognized Şengün, started feeding Şengün, started shifting the offense more to him, right? And I give him credit for that because that last guy didn't do that, right? So like he gets that nod, but like I'm sorry, I'm gonna criticize him when I see something stupid. And this is something stupid in my opinion.